Here's one way in which Google has been actively evil, even though regardless of their "don't be evil" mantra, and they can kid themselves about that, and also I'm good looking and I look great in those jeans and the rest of those other lies. They have been at the request of China, at the request of Russia, and apparently as a professional courtesy to North Korea, they will pixelate classified military installations. I mean, believe it or not, more than they will in the U.S. And Google Earth and Google Maps are fairly basic fundamental tools in the open source intelligence movement of which I am a devotee, because it's really amazing what you can get in the open source, and especially in space imagery. I can't answer to Bing. So if anyone knows if Microsoft, if the Bing Global Explorer, whatever they call it, the Microsoft analog to Google Earth, if they do it too, then that's equally evil. Anyway, as of a couple hours ago, Google unpixelated all of these long classified Russian, former Soviet and now Russian facilities, and I'll check a couple in China because I get the feeling that of everyone that they'll bend over for. China is pretty much the beginning of this, but and also, of course, LeBron James' house is still pixelated. But so anyway, they unmasked all this, and now it's available to the public with Google Earth. Now, to be clear, you can pay. There's a couple different commercially available satellite imaging companies. And one of them that's become pretty famous the last couple of weeks has been Maxar, M-A-X-A-R. They're the ones who released the photos, a month ago of the 40-mile convoy and all that. And so anyway, but you have to pay. You have to be an enterprise. I mean, it's a lot of money for their imagery because it's super high res. And it's completely unmasked. They do not do that. You can ask Maxar, can I get some, X resolution of the Russian naval base at Murmansk, and you can give them the latitude and longitude and say, I want 10 kilometers north of here to 20 kilometers there. But you will pay. You will pay a lot of money. And it's also, by the way, it's nowhere near what American, Israeli, Russian, UK satellites can get. But for commercial people, you do pay a lot of money for a very high-res thing. Well, now you get a pretty good resolution that Google Maps was denying as of a couple hours ago. So I
guess what's the main point, though? Because clearly American intelligence already has these images.
But they're not telling it to me.
Well, so they're making it available for the general public, but my question remains, what is the utility of that? Oh, now I can see these military sites. Let's go bomb them immediately.
Well, no, it's just being able to see updated imagery and things like that, and seeing and also with Google Earth, you can go backwards in time, so you can see. Oh, yeah, they've been digging those trenches for 8 months. Or whatever. And that's what I'm going to be doing later on today.
Yes, I know what your hobbies are. Watching military aircraft circling around Ukraine, and now unpixelated Russian military
sites. Oh, my God.
That's how you get your kicks.
It's so funny. My daughter literally catches me reading books of maps.
you shuffle them away really quick.
I know. It's like I would be less embarrassed if she caught me on Duck Hub. Or Elk Hub or some whatever, those are. She just goes, dork. But except that, then one day she cracked open a book of North American maps, and she said, when's this one from? When's this one? All this.
Okay, so scenario time. Would you rather have a bottle of scotch with a glass with one big thing of ice in it, and watch Bridgerton, or a military aircraft circling Eastern Europe countries?
Second one, but no,
you wouldn't go for the Netflix
sugary
hit
scotch.
Show.
It's got to be gin vodka. Got to be clear.
Yeah, too smoky.
Yeah. No, I try. You know what? I gave Bridgerton a shot, It's not either be authentic to the sort of time period and look that you're doing, or make it up like Hunger Games.
You don't like the stylized version of history? No,
because it's a lie, and it's sort of a projection of a fantasy of, oh, there's a perfect world, and it's like it's just a bodice ripper with a diverse bodice ripper, and it's a way to sort of sideline the fact that there wasn't even a word for diversity, 200 years ago or whatever.
The ladies love it, though.
I know. And believe me, if there was someone that, if I was someone and they went, oh, I got to catch up on Bridgerton, you want to watch, I'm not going to go, no.
I let my wife convince me to watch the Great British Baking Show, and now I'm kind of hooked.
Yeah, I mean,
the things you do for love.
If I have an agenda, and currently I don't, I'm agenda free right now. So that allows me to watch. You know what I got into? 2 shows that they're not releasing all of them like Netflix does all at once or Prime Video. They're doing it once a week,
like the old-fashioned way.
Oh, one of them is Winning Time, which is terrific. The other one is Slow Horses with Gary Oldman, who's great, and then other English people. And it's if you're a John le Carré, if you like
a spy fiction thriller,
the detailed sort of field craft of nuts and bolts, then it's terrific. Slow Horses on Apple, and HBO Max has Winning Time. But no, I can't. I tried getting into the Bridgerton, and what's funny is it was created by this woman who just is the Elon Musk of fictional TV, named Shonda Rhimes. Absolutely everything she touches is a hit. My daughter worships her. Started watching it, and she went, yeah.
Isn't there heavy nudity in that show too?
Well, she was like, that's why she didn't like it. She's like, nothing happens. They just take each other's clothes off. So she got, she got over it, and nothing is a better deterrent for good stuff than that. AM 770 KTTH. So guess who's coming to take your checks? That would be the one of the top 10 Democratic presidential candidates for 2024, according to the Washington Post. In fact, I did a little deep dive. Turns out he is the incumbent president. So, by the way, number 10, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Seriously? This is a poll from YouGov. Asked about the 2024 Democratic presidential primary, only 21% of Democratic-leaning voters said their choice was the incumbent, Joe Biden. That's Democratic-leaning people who, and these are people that play checkers and not chess. And this is why if your party is the White House, he's the head of the party. He is the incumbent. That put him barely ahead of the 18% who said they weren't sure who they supported. Not sure leads Kamala Harris, by the way. Not sure was 18%. Crazy. So number 10, AOC. Number 9, Gavin Newsom. Number 8, Cory Booker. 7, Sherrod Brown. Who's he? He's from Ohio. Senator from Ohio. That's right. Anyone? Producer Greg. Roy Cooper.
Oh, Roy. No. Who? Roy who? Coop? Koopaloop?
The Coop. North Carolina congressperson. Amy Klobuchar, number 5.
She's back in the mix, huh?
Number 4, Elizabeth Warren. Insert Native American joke here. Number 3, Kamala Harris. Number 2, Pete Buttigieg.
Did you already reveal number 1? Because I got a drum roll. You haven't.
Well, you know what? That's the thing. Is if we're at number 2 and I haven't said it yet, I think it sort of gives it away. Pete Buttigieg, number 2, and number 1, ladies and gentlemen, the 46th president of the United States, whether he knows it or not, President Joseph Robinette Biden. Robinette. And so if 18% if only 21% say they'll vote for him, and he's the incumbent, And you don't have to change the Constitution. And then 18% say, I'm feeling a little Buttigieg-y.
2024 looks very bleak, in my opinion. And
this November is not going to help.
When geopolitics is going to be front and center, and we're going to need a strong leader with a lot of moral clarity and gravitas and courage. I'm a little worried, to say the least.
Yeah, and so that's why on Thursday, April 21st, the president will travel to Portland, Oregon, to defecate on the sidewalk and discuss how the unprecedented investments in his bipartisan infrastructure law are building a better America, because he can't do that from the south lawn of the White House.
Do you have a top 5 conservative list for 2024 yet? Has it materialized?
Barely ahead of undecided is Pete Buttigieg. You know what? Let's be honest. It's
I don't know how long our bench is.
Trump, DeSantis.
Right?
They have to settle this quick.
Right.
And probably off camera, somebody I'm worried. I'm just sitting back looking at the chess game here. Somebody has, I think, more power, not as president, but as the anointer, and somebody who was who wore the uniform and has governed very effectively through you talk about a 50-state litmus test of who's doing this right and who isn't. I want to see DeSantis on the stage with the half-wit Gavin Newsom, because DeSantis, former military attorney, former JAG for Naval Special Warfare, and I want to see him on a stage with Newsom. I mean, I would pay to see Trump on a stage with Newsom too. That would be great. But just insulting him would be just the insults he would have about Newsom would be great. But that's the thing, is they have to settle this. First things first. The Democratic carnage in November, it now appears to be inescapable. They're trying with all this damage control about the Putin price hike and all that. No one is going for it. And by the way, by November, it's going to be worse. The food inflation is going to be worse by November, big time. The energy inflation, worse by November, big time. And those two things, those two high-end luxury items, including food and fuel, are increasingly more popular amongst Americans, even poorest Americans, Greg. Polls find that even amongst poor Americans, food is one luxury item they say that they wouldn't part with.
What?
So,
bro, what are you talking about, man?
So we're dealing with that, and they know this, by the way. And Jen Psaki officially is the first rat to leave the sinking ship. She doesn't want to be cleaning up that mess. In November, she wants to talk about it on MSNBC. Talk about how no one listened to her advice about calling it the Xi price hike or whatever. But so anyway, faced with the worst COVID-19 outbreak yet, China has been enforcing an expanding number of mass quarantines. I'll tell you how China's economy shooting itself in the foot. Not such a great thing for us because, well, they make all of our stuff. We'll be back. Another reason to have your own chickens. AM 770 KTTH. No, that's not it, but it is the reason. Bryan Suits here with producer Greg. There's a bird flu spreading now to 27 states. About 1.3% of all chickens in the U.S. have been infected. And there's only one. Most every county in the U.S. has one remedy for a chicken infection, and it's killed the entire flock. And that means industrial,
good old-fashioned murder.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my God. There's a thing called Newcastle virus. I dealt with that. And it turned out all along there's an inoculation. There's this thing you can put in the chicken's water, and it inoculates them. But America's most populous county couldn't be bothered to just tell those of us that owned chickens that was the case. So I found out, but that's fine. But anyway, get what we are going to do. Daughter and I, we're going to redo it. We'll be having eggs by maybe October or so, but we're going to go with 10, and then as we learn through hard experience, we're going to go with 10, And if we have 5 living layers in 6 months, if we have 5 or more, we'll consider that a big win. Because once you get them out of that window, just like human kids, once you get them out of that 3-year-old window, and you've minimized the shark attacks and all that, pretty good chance they're going to make it. And also by then, you're pretty attached to them.
Are they noisy?
Well, they make that charming little peep, 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 peep.
I know, but doesn't that peep, peep, peep annoy the hell out of your neighbors? I guess it depends on where you live.
Yeah, they can't hear the peeping. Just make sure that you get ones that have already been sexed, because there is not a gnarlier surprise than turns out you have 30 that hatch, at your place like we did, and about 12 wind up being roosters. Yeah, that was nasty. And when by the time we got to that point, it was a day-long call. There was a lot of slow roast chili at my house for the next couple months from those chaps. Well, so let's get to what of the two.
What do you want to get to?
Do you want to play the Dave Matthews?
Did you pull it up?
I don't have it.
Okay, so I asked.
I was trying to find the audio. There was some concert. He's a local. I mean, not from here originally, but he lives around here. He was so stoned at some concert here once. He was talking about cloth diapers and don't use disposable diapers. It was the most. I couldn't believe he could walk on the stage. I mean, he was so high.
I used to be a Dave Matthews nut in high school. Completely obsessed, over the top. His first 3 albums, listened to incessantly. When he picked up an electric guitar, I was done with him. I moved on. I haven't really returned back to him for the past 20 years. But notoriously high during live shows.
Yeah.
And would say the most bizarre things. Incoherent drivel, but the fans ate it up because they just thought it was hilarious. He would point to the sky and go, "Hey, look, some black Jordan. Yeah, we love you, Dave.
It was like a Paul Allen Experience music thing or something that he did at the arena, and someone said something about what on a daily basis can people do to lessen their impact on the environment. And he thought for a long time. He said, "Well, you can use cloth diapers." Like we use cloth diapers. And he never specified. You mean you're wearing those right now? Or you mean for children?
Oh, for babies.
Yeah, and he was advocating for diaper services. And,
okay, so he premiered a song about Ukrainian refugees.
In cloth diapers?
On CNN, no diapers involved. This was with Jake Tapper, and I've only heard little snippets of it, but I wanted to get your formal
was he
review.
On as a guest and they rolled the tape, or did Tapper say here, oh, really?
Well, I don't know if it was pre-recorded or not. Maybe they made it look like it was live, but it was probably pre-taped, of course. I've only heard like 10 seconds of it, and I'm just going to go in the middle of the song here.
Sooner than we wanted, it's special because it's fleeting. All of the things that we did, what do we leave behind us?
I has it.
Something that will remind them, something to make them smile when they think about it. Something to tell my baby, something she can reach for. We all need.
Makes me sick, to be honest with you.
It makes me sick, to be honest with you.
All right, your formal review after 20 seconds of Dave Matthews' Refugee song?
Here's the thing.
This is never good when you say here's the thing.
You don't have to be able to point to Ukraine on a map. If I spot you the UK and the R, to write a heartfelt acoustic ballad.
Okay, I've heard enough too. But
is this benefiting? Is he donating the money for shoulder-fired single-use anti-tank rockets?
My initial reaction is I wish he'd write a song about sending javelins and heavy arms to Ukraine, because
now
the
refugee you got me.
thing, it's kind of the low-hanging fruit, right? We all love refugees. There's no moral ambiguity here. We support that. But it's almost like it happened. What caused this crisis? Supreme evil dropping bombs.
A lot of people in entertainment are treating it like a hurricane.
Well, it's like the John Lennon-Yoko thing. The war is over if you want it. Is it really? Like, it's not over for Putin. Or I was in Disney World last week, and I saw someone with a shirt that had Star Wars font and it said "Stop Wars." And I thought, man, if we could only get Putin some of those T-shirts, he might end this thing tomorrow.
It makes me sick, to be honest with you.
And the thing, because people ask me, and so I'll just tell you, one of the things that the Ukrainians are lacking because they have been using them is a thing called an individual first aid kit, an IFAC. And I can tell you, having been a medic in the first Gulf War and then a officer in an infantry company in the second one, the first aid kits that the American soldiers are issued with night and day versus 1991 to 2005, night and day. Just crazy how significantly better trauma medicine got. The Ukrainians need those because they have been using theirs. So it's called an IFAC, right? And so I'm working with a couple people. I'm just going to announce, I'm pretty proud of the URL we got, but donating those. And there, by the way, there's a company that's donating ammunition. Good for them, but that's very complex. But I want to find a way to get people's donations so that we can crowdsource a good price point on thousands and thousands of individual first aid kits called IFACs. And then you carry it in your kit, in your cargo pocket. So I got I give a FAC, capital I give a FAK, or I gave a
nice
FAC, and so because these are direct life-saving things, and so we'll get into that as it organizes. But if there was a way to crowdsource, and offset the cost of anti-tank missiles, you bet I would. You absolutely bet I would. But that's part of the problem. Just crazy how significantly better trauma medicine got. The Ukrainians need those because they have been using theirs. So it's called an IFAC, right? And so I'm working with a couple people. I'm just going to announce, I'm pretty proud of the URL we got, but donating those. And there, by the way, there's a company that's donating ammunition. Good for them, but that's very complex. But I want to find a way to get people's donations so that we can crowdsource a good price point on thousands and thousands of individual first aid kits called IFACs. And then you carry it in your kit, in your cargo pocket. So I got I give a FAC, capital I give a FAK, or I gave a
nice
FAC, and so because these are direct life-saving things, and so we'll get into that as it organizes. But if there was a way to crowdsource, and offset the cost of anti-tank missiles, you bet I would. You absolutely bet I would. But that's part of the problem with export law in the U.S. government is you cannot you can't do that basically because. When the last people, when the most effective people who were fighting ISIS at the high tide of ISIS was the Peshmerga in northern Iraq, I held what we called a Peshmerga-thon, and we raised money for better pants, for helmets, non-lethal aid and stuff like that. So while in my heart I would love to be crowdsourcing a tow missile like World War II, like a scrap drive in Seattle to pay for a B-29. Federal law says you can't do that. All right, when we come back, people displaying their faith, worshiping by singing on an airplane. What can go wrong? Well, Ilhan Omar can go wrong. Is what can go wrong there. And we'll be back right after this. We would. Oh, look at that! I have to. I have my oil changed, and they said there's a problem. I got to get up to the garage and get my car. And you'd make some excuse, then you'd go down to the kingdom. There'd be all these guys in their 20s in shirt sleeves and tie, and so they would scan the crowd and put you on the big screen. You'd have to hide your face and stuff.
When I was a kid, there was no one I aspired more to be than Ferris Bueller. And there's that scene where he's skipping school, obviously, and he goes to that Cubs game in the middle of the afternoon. And I just thought that looks like the best life ever. How can I get myself in that position in life?
And that was before they had lights at Wrigley Field, and that was the end of that. Well, we had an off-air meeting about whether to play this part. Where did Tucker Carlson talk to a guy that said to tan that part of your body? Was that on his show?
He does it like Tucker Originals, which is outside of his normal show, and he's talking about the loss.
Oh, it's on Fox Nation on the online thing,
and it's
right?
something about the loss of testosterone. So his guest was saying you need to tan your tees. Yeah. I don't know if we can even say the word.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a health crisis. No one. We had an off-air meeting about whether to play this part. Where did Tucker Carlson talk to a guy that said to tan that part of your body? Was that on his show?
He does it like Tucker Originals, which is outside of his normal show, and he's talking about the loss.
Oh, it's on Fox Nation on the online thing,
and it's
right?
something about the loss of testosterone. So his guest was saying you need to tan your tees. Yeah. I don't know if we can even say the word.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a health crisis no one is talking about out loud because we're in an age where testosterone equals evil.
I can't believe we didn't get to that clip today.
But you don't procreate without half the population producing from these glands this certain
don't get too detailed
stuff. You see, kids, very soon your bodies will change. And so anyway, all right, thanks to producer Greg.